Good evening, everybody. From Jackie and I, we're standing in for Ashley tonight, who's out with some family and friends, along with our daughter and son-in-law, Sean. We're actually babysitting our little baby grandson, Jack. He's fast asleep. He has been for about an hour, but he's fidgeting, so we're not sure if he's going to wake up or not. Jackie and I are going to do a little chat, different chats tonight, and please come in with your questions if you've got any. And also, very importantly, we're live on Facebook and YouTube, and this is Ashley Robinson's show called Being Spiritual. So we're trying to bring in a Christmas aspect of being spiritual tonight and see what you all think. So, Jackie.
Yep, hence our clothes. You'll see we're in Christmas jolly attire for December, and we're doing that for the whole of December. And as our contribution is for December, we thought it'd be lovely to do a show that touches on Christmas in some aspects. And what I want to start tonight with is a short invocation on Christmas. This says, "O great infinite spirit, as man is caught up in the spirit of the happiest time of the year, grant to all wisdom and willingness to make proper preparations to receive and value the unspeakable gift of divine love, the gift to all peoples. May the joyous spirit of the glad Yule season suffice mortal communication with the spirit world with compelling assurance that departed loved ones still live and love as before. May the glow of spiritual understanding warm human hearts with brotherly spiritual love. May the ceaseless Christmas spirit of peace, goodwill on earth, wholly possess the earth, reigning in the hearts of all. May the spirit of this occasion bring man ever closer and closer to his beloved ones in spirit, and into his life the eternal things of the blessed season. Amen." I also want to add, what sweeter thoughts can we have of the Christmas message that are pictured with all the Christmas stories, the lovely windows on Christmas Eve, and immortal beauty reflected from the presence of the angel host as they sang their songs of peace. All the joys of Christmas and the happiness of the Christ child bless us all as we contemplate the scene, expressively gracious in the happiest reverberating sound around us in the hearts of all men. And what I also want to do is put out to you, and I'm hoping that we get some feedback from you, because Christmases of the last, 2 or 3 years have changed quite significantly and are less of the traditional Christmas and the lack of religion within that Christmas message, that it's all more about the spirit of Christmas. And is it time that actually we perhaps even change it so that it's no longer Christmas, but the spirit of, the bringing back of the light to the world, which after all, the Christian church was very clever in using the pagan seasonal time of the celebrating of Yule and the 12 days of Christmas and the bringing families together, and knowing that on the 21st of December that we begin to get daylight coming back. And so many religions in the world, it's all about bringing light to the world and returning light to the world. So we'd like to see some of your feedback. If you think, actually, as spiritualists and spiritual people, then perhaps we don't need a Christian festival at all, or the fact that we're looking beyond that, we're looking to getting back to nature. All of the special traditions of Christmas, the bringing in of nature, the harmonising of nature into our home, the protection of the ivy and the mistletoe and all of the other parts of pagan festival. So we'd like your feedback on that and what you think, that the true meaning of Christmas is.
Say hello to a few names on screen. Hello, Kimbo. How are you? Great. Thank you for joining us. Christine, good evening and welcome. Sheena, good evening, welcome.
Good evening.
Sharon, good evening and welcome. Kaylee Byrne, good. Hi, it's nice to see you.
And
Julie, good to see you.
Some old friends, church friends.
Cherie, nice to see you. To see you, nice.
And new friends, hopefully. Some of you that probably come regularly.
Thank you, Krish. We've tried to dress up for this, and my daughter is quite phased that I'm in a Christmas outfit because I don't normally do Christmas very well. Mary, hi again. Been with us all day at church.
We've had a lovely Christmas fair today.
Nikki, I hope you have a great evening with us. Enjoy yourself. Claire, hello. Nice to see you.
Welcome to our show. We're doing a little bit.
Leslie Moulton, I think I know you. I think we've met in the past. Hope you're well, and Alistair.
And come and join us in the debate.
Alison, hello. Good to see you.
Nice to see you again.
Welcome to the show.
You're with us this evening.
Mick Hayward, hope you have a nice evening with us. Terry, hello. How are you?
All right. Hello, Terry. And also, Mary
good
from Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Wonderful.
My son drinks one of your favourite Tennessee bourbons.
And he has been over to Tennessee.
Samantha Timpson, hello.
Some of you, it may be your first night. So I hope that you enjoy the night with us.
Nikki, hello.
Evening,
hope
Ashley.
You had a nice evening with us.
Yeah, we're stand-ins for Ashley, if you've only just joined us, Nikki. We're Ashley's parents, but he was born in spiritualism. And we've got almost 100 years of spiritualism to the both of us.
Hello, Kaylee.
Yes, that's right, for the card. Thank you, Kaylee. But some of you think about that idea of Christmas spirit. Sherry?
Yeah.
First time USA. Lovely.
Welcome.
Lovely to hear from you.
Know your country relatively well.
Traditional.
Tim, hello, how are you?
Festival. Tradition is a pagan festival.
Yes, I know
Totally agree with you, Tim.
We know that. We spoke about this at church on Wednesday.
Putting it out there, when we were talking about the actual feeling of Christmas and that Christmas spirit that is there. It's all the goodwill. If all man is actually having goodwill to men of the world, then it's actually that love that's created, that sense of excitement, which goes beyond just one traditional religion. And that's why, we're asking people like yourself to say, Christians took it over.
Hello,
from Dagenham, wonderful. Good Union place, Dagenham.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, from the story of, equality. Millie?
Hello, Millie.
Great as well. And you're also saying about the true meaning of Christmas, being blessed with a love of family, remembering all my loved ones who we shared many lovely Christmases, also helping the suffering where we can. Wonderful and nicely said. I should be touching on that as well and remembering for those that are lonely, that spirit is always around us and will share wonderful moments with us over the Christmas time. Amara, lovely to have you with us today, Chad. And we're looking at your cat, but we're looking at him sideways. So I don't know if he's on the move. Okay.
And one more. Sam. I've been feeling the Christmas spirit. I love it. Yes, that's one of the things we've been trying to say amongst our community at Wimbledon.
And Sherry, yes, it's not about gifts. Other than the gift of giving of yourself, I would say, Sherry. And I would say, because I like writing Christmas cards, even if it takes hours, but it's sending that good thought. And I love every day, not just Christmas. Yes. Yeah. And it's sending that love. If you're sending good thoughts out to people, we know that it works as absent healing.
I put out Sunday at the service that perhaps all of us out in the real world, not just at Wimbledon Church and virtual world, what gifts we can bring to Christmas. I'm not talking about monetary gifts, but what we can do to bring to the world next year. Maybe it's volunteering, maybe it's helping out. So it's really great. My former local council, they always put Christmas signs up, and one year they said they were short of money, so they put Happy Xmas, which I've never liked as a word. If you can't say Christmas, don't. And I complained to the council, but I said, for Ramadan, would you put Happy Ram? For Diwali, would you put Happy Dev? And other celebrations, and Happy Hanukkah, would you put Happy Hon? And they said, well, of course we wouldn't. That would be offensive. I said, well, to Christians, that is offensive. And Jesus probably was not born at Christmas in the sense. He was probably born between July and September, they think.
When it was warm.
When it was warm and no snow. And from what I know of my Bible history, which is not fantastic, it doesn't snow really in Bethlehem. So some of the things have been man-made, and I'm a great believer in the Bible being man-made. I don't wish to offend anyone. If it's your volume of sacred law, I bless you for it. But we have to look practically with a firm eye and a firm heart that some of the stuff at Christmas is great. And my days in Brixton Market when I was a kid and as a grown-up were always great, always wonderful. And it's true that we miss people at Christmas, especially. I've been very mindful about my own mum and dad this week because we suddenly opened my mum's Christmas container that she had, and I found the first ever Christmas fairy on top of the tree. We had fairies in our house. I know some people that's wrong, but hey ho, it's our house. We can do what we like. And my mum brought this in 1950. I'm 58, so 1956. She bought this fairy. And we've still got part of it. It's naked fairy now. And it'd probably be arrested if it went out.
And it looks a bit creepy.
And it looks a bit creepy as well. It's a plastic doll type thing. And some of her other bits and pieces. She's even got a donkey with one eye, which we said we should probably send to the donkey sanctuary. It's what Christmas means to you in your hearts and your mind. And I've got to be truthful. We had more fun as a family on Boxing Day. Christmas Day to my dad was a very religious, special ceremony. I have to say it wasn't always about Christmas Day because of one reason or another to do with work. But Boxing Day, always home, fantastic time, fantastic parties at Christmas and Boxing Day with the families, cousins and everything. And Jackie would meet up with, was it 18 cousins?
Yes, on two different days.
On 2 different days. So that's another part of Christmas. And I listened to a sermon from an Anglican vicar at Burrows-Lee once, where he spoke about his journey to Bethlehem and then to the sanctuary in Burrows-Lee and the different things that happened in his life which brought him to that place, i.e. Harry Edwards Healing Sanctuary. It's now called the chapel, but we always called it the sanctuary in our days. Things are changing so much and I'm getting old, I'm becoming an old leg. And back in my day, these things didn't. Anyway, and he also asked us all to think of what gift we would bring to the manger. So I've just slightly changed it this year, saying what gift will we bring to the world? And it's important that we have a world that is going to be better next year. I don't want to say it's what this reason, one thing, but COVID, whatever you believe in COVID, has brought a lot of heartache and pain to families. And we had a family at Wimbledon yesterday who they thought the 3 boys had COVID, and they didn't. It's been proved today. But we've got to understand it's very different for every person, and we have to tolerate those Christmases. Jackie's Christmas memories are different to mine, in some respect better, but that mine are not bad. And I don't want people thinking, oh, Ray had a bad Christmas. I never, ever had a bad Christmas. I had a wonderful space station brought through my brother and I, and we found more fun in the box than we ever did the space station. But that's all part of being Christmas. Jack.
And I'd just like to looking at some of the words that you've sent, and Sheena going on about Christmas is the time of being together and helping people who haven't got anything. And that's what we've tried to do with our church family at church. All of December, all of our meetings, we're trying to enjoy Christmas. And I must have spent about 10 hours decorating the church so that people that perhaps haven't got any decorations up, when they come to church, they feel as though they're part of a family. And that we're all round the table now that we've got our big table back that holds about 20. And so every time is special. But we also very much believe from the time we start December that our Sunday morning collection and our Wednesday collection will be going to our charity for the year. And the last 3 years we've been working with Crisis at Christmas, and we've managed to put about 30 people through each year. So that those that don't have anything are actually seeing that true spirit of Christmas, which is sharing, giving of yourself. And many of our people at church this year have cut down on any presents. They're just giving little things. They're not doing that at all. And they're putting to those that don't have anything so that we can bring that equality to actually be able to see people with a smile on their face, just getting something, from us, those that don't need to have anything. We don't need to buy the gifts. But it is that spirit of giving I made some Christmas badges that said, give of yourself at Christmas. And I always say at this time of the year, we've heard about the global footprint, but I always say that we have a spiritual footprint. And that spiritual footprint is a time where we should reflect on the impact we've made on the earth, on people that we know. If we pass to spirit tomorrow, when people look back at our life, how have we impacted on them? If we are all a community, what is the state of that community? How have we helped? So if you can spend just 5 minutes talking to someone that perhaps is a little lonely, that you know isn't going to have anyone, and that's why we're trying to keep our Christmas at church open for as long as we can, all through the Christmas, and hopefully even a small festive service on Christmas Day, so that we can link in with those. And I did see somebody say that they're minus all of the people that make Christmas special. And we touched on this on Wednesday and said, if we can link in to the happy memories we had as children with the individuals, that's right, Hafsa, it was the comments that you had said, because many of the people, once you've lost, you know, your parents, your grandparents, and we found once our children had grown up, you know, Christmas didn't have any special meaning to us. We've now got small grandchildren and we're having different traditions. But I think back on some fantastic memories that I had as a child with parents and siblings, and to actually bring them to you around that Christmas time. You know, dig out some old Christmas pictures if you've got them. Look at the photos, look at the ones on the wall, and actually bring them to you around the Christmas festivities, because they'll be around you. You know, if they loved you on earth, then they love you from the spirit world. So know that they will be with you, and bring that feeling of spirit, of beautiful Christmas joy, you know, to yourself at that time. Just give yourself 5-minute meditation with it and just bring them to you.
I love what you said, Mary, from keeping Christmas Eve special and family and partners. I think it's very special to do that. It was the first year that my dad passed away. We found it difficult, and we got my mum and my father-in-law, whose wife was in a home at the time. We brought them round home, and we got some lovely videos out, and we watched some wonderful little videos. Nothing especially Christmas, but one was a war film, which they both liked, war films, called The Monument Men. If you've ever seen that, it's a very good film. And we sat there and we really enjoyed it, Jackie and I, and we sat there. I said, well, we enjoyed it. Both my mum and my father said, well, it was a waste of time, wasn't it? We had more fun doing other things. And so it was like that. And we actually thought, well, it's lovely. And we tried again the following year, and it didn't go well again, did it? But we kept trying to keep them entertained for Christmas. But also got to the point my mum did physically miss my father's presence. And Rick always had fantastic Christmas with his two girls and the rest of the families, either his in-laws or his family down in Waterloo. And obviously he missed his wife June. So it was very hard to try and capture or recapture those events. But we just found it funny. The last year we were all together before different people passed away. My father-in-law, we finished the film. My father-in-law said, right, I'm ready to go home now, bye. And stood up waiting for Jackie to take him back. And what Leslie Moulton is saying, going to give to charity, a lot of people are doing that, and we're going to actually start that from next year at Wimbledon. A lot of people are already doing that, and say if you want to send a card to everyone, we'll put it on the rostrum wall or steps next year. But the thing is, Christmas means so many different things. My dad, who was a very passionate, loving spiritualist, it was a very religious symbolism for him of the Christ in the manger. And he believed that and he loved that and he was comfortable with that. And his favourite carol was Away in the Manger. And he loved singing that and hearing kids sing that. And I've rediscovered Christmas by having two grandkids. My own two kids, which are grown-ups, very grown-ups, Ashley and Rachel, made me reinvent Christmas. Rachel would decorate every window in the house with lights and trees and everything. And I just came home one night and I said, I've had a phone call from Heathrow Airport. We're diverting the planes, because they're thinking they're landing in Carshalton. Hello, Tess. How are you, darling? Lovely to hear from you. And Christmas means, to me, the birth of a fresh light into the world, a new light. And it has its own customs that comes with that. I'm not a pagan in any way, shape or form, but I can't say that I really believe Jesus was born on the 25th of December in the year dot, because I don't deep down. I did once upon a time, and I used to have my manger up at home, didn't I? And I even had a manger on my little baby wooden manger at my desk at the Home Office, and I was told to take it down. I offended a few other nationalities and religious beliefs, and I kept it there. And we had a Christmas tree in the office, and we had to take that down because we weren't allowed to use the lights because they hadn't been pack tested. Some of that, I think, has got OTT over the years. I understand electricity and fires and stuff like that. But what I miss is people just being happy, cheerful. Sometimes it was drink influenced. But I've enjoyed Wimbledon Church because we used to do a midnight service and finish with Silent Night as it became Christmas Day. And we used to have some fun memories of a certain medium called Bob Brunton dressing up in Santa, going around wishing everyone a happy Christmas and a blessed New Year.
There was a beautiful Christmas
spirit,
wasn't there?
And we'd have over 100, and we even had people from the Irish club next door come and join us a few times. And the atmosphere, and this was also members of our church, that very strict SNU.
I'm just checking on baby for 10 seconds.
They enjoyed those, what I call happy Christmassy feelings. And we had some fantastic times. We'd sing carols and do readings. And it's important to try and grasp some of that back again, because we've lost some of that. And I know at our Spirit Seeker in October, I love the atmosphere. We just almost, with lots of people, picked up where we left off 2 years ago. And that was good. I have a photo of my dad in a bauble with the feathers inside. This year, my mum gave me a new ornament, my dad's glasses. She painted them and turned them into a snowman. That's fantastic, Terry. That is fantastic. I have a special ornament for mum and dad, and they are on the top of the tree every year. That's wonderful, Heidi. That is cool. Glorious. It really is. I've got nothing for mum and dad. I just put flowers around their photographs, to be honest. And the Christmas tree, we've got the two of the eldest grandboys, and Jack will have a name one, polar bear with his name on, quite soon. There will be one special Christmas for my sister's dad this year, as it's his last. God bless him. Yeah, that's going to be tough. That is going to be tough. But you've got to think of the memories. When I conduct funeral service, I said, let's keep those happy memories alive. Sometimes there's not always happy memories. But keep of those memories, because I remember my uncle Stan sitting at a piano playing, knocking out songs, and we were all singing the songs. And we did a conga one night into the street and back in again, and people joined us along the street. That sort of spirit of Christmas has disappeared over the years. And us cousins remember having fun with the baby monitor and talking down jokes down the monitor and entertaining the families, and playing Twister one Christmas, which was not only the kids playing, but the grown-ups had had a couple of sherries too many. But they are happy memories. And sometimes it wasn't always good for me, because my birthday's a couple of days after Christmas, 3 days to be precise. And people would say, there's your birthday present and Christmas present in one. So sometimes I felt a bit robbed of my birthday. And going to church at Christmas Eve service, it just feel close to the ones in life. That's true. That is very true, Sheena. And it's important we don't forget that. My little grandson a few weeks ago asked me, Ethan, he's the eldest out of the three, he asked me, he said, Grandad, are you going to die soon? So I said, no, what makes you say that? And he said, no, it doesn't matter. And I carried on, and when I say I chased him, I got hold of him. I said, why did you ask me that question if I'm going to die? He said, well, I just want you to go to heaven and say hello to Nanny Hazel, which is my mum, Nanny June, which is Jackie's mum, and her dad, Grandad Rick. He said, I don't ever want them to forget me. And I thought that was just so sweet, and tried to get through to him. They will never forget him, because they are now immortal, and we must keep that message alive as spiritualists. And going to church, depending it's the right church, it's great. My mum and dad and myself and Jackie were invited to a local Anglican church. It was a high church, and smells and bells, as they like to say. And the man put the incense around and nearly put Jackie and my mum in hospital because they had asthma attacks. And he said, you know, you should have sat in the back. He said, but you told us to sit in the front. And he said, well, it must be you might need exercising then, and sort of jokingly saying that. Just because something's done doesn't mean it's got to always be done. I would love to go back to doing a Christmas Eve carol service, but it's just not practical for people getting home this day and age. And it's important. We need to. Hello, Ashley, Charlie.
Mm.
Are you new? How new are you?
I was just reading with Teresa. It does Christmas, but not in spirit yet. As I'm working Christmas Day and Boxing Day, my dad loved Christmas and would tell me what presents I had, as he was so excited about getting them.
Yeah, one of the things around working in Brixton Market, one of my customers, and Jack will remember the cake, she used to make me a fruit cake every Christmas. But one year she put too much of the, you know, Jamaican Ray and Nephew white rum. She put almost half a bottle of this Ray and Nephew in the cake. Oh, I had a couple of slices of cake before midday, and I was quite intoxicated. And she said, yeah, you're supposed to have burned it off first. Well, she never told me that. We just ate it off. But the memories of me in the market with Dad and A and others was great.
And I just wanted to add, I know Ray touched on the fact of finding the very old fairy, the original one from the 1950s, and putting it on the tree. But it just reminded me, again, we were talking about Wednesday and about traditions of Christmas and about bringing and encouraging nature spirits into the home with the pagan festival, because they look after Christmas and they look after nature. So therefore, if a fairy was seen on the tree and the pixies and all the elves and everything, then it was part of that pagan tradition, really, of welcoming the fairies in, welcoming them all into the work that they do. And as we believe in equality of all life, whether or not we're aware of it, whether we believe in it or we don't believe in it, but that's how some of those early stories came in with those traditions and the bringing in of the wood, you know, everything of the branches and things. So I just wanted to share that with you.
In a very monetary way, my Rachel has very happy memories of my mother-in-law giving her the Argos catalogue at Christmas and say, you've got X amount of pounds to spend, choose what you want. And Rachel loved going through that Argos catalogue, and she was saying the other day, I miss doing that with Nan. And my dad would give us all extra week's salary at Christmas, and sometimes not himself. Just had enough to get through Christmas. And quite often, if it was a very bad cold Christmas in the 70s, the stock in the shop would get frostbite and would be useless by Christmas when we opened up on Boxing Day. Sometimes Boxing Day, sometimes the day after. But the interesting thing is, very interesting thing is I used to love sitting there watching the kids open their presents. I really did. And they say, thanks, Dad, for buying this. I go, oh, lovely. And I think, oh, I don't remember buying this. It's always Jackie, of course. And my mum was no doubt the same with my dad. And to see the kids love and thing. And about 2 years ago, I dressed up as Santa for Ethan and Noah. And I was stood outside the flat. I had their house, and I had some jingle bells, and I was rattling them. And I knocked at the door, and Ashley said, well, we better see who that is. And they looked at that, and Ethan looked at me, and he looked at his brother. Noah was quite fascinated. And I heard Ethan say to his dad, I think that's Granddad, but I won't let on. And I just found that amusing. And I really thought I'd covered myself. I've changed my voice and everything. And he actually very much enjoys seeing Santa still. As he says, it's not the Santa, it's Santa's representative, because Santa can't be everywhere in every shop. And he said, if I've already told Santa what I want, why do I have to repeat it again to another Santa? So he's clocking on in his own way.
And sometimes it's about the spirit of Christmas. So we were talking with Richard before the show and saying the thing about Father Christmas or Santa, you know, it's gender is obviously male. I mean, stems way back with the stories, you know, of the first people that were celebrating the story of the saint that was going round and giving gifts. I always thought it was the red outfit was the fact that it was the Coca-Cola advert, but it was actually this saint, and it was the, you know, the bishop's clothes, the red cape, and sometimes he's known in the purple cape. But we would like to really think of it, the spirit of Christmas, as being genderless. And what I would like to do, I'm going to read you a few quotes from the different biblical paragraphs that talk about spirit manifestation. So there is that link. But what I also want to think of at this time of year, you often get cards that say peace. And peace is a word I often use. I know a couple of weeks back on Ash's last show, he was talking about what sums up a spiritualist, do we believe? And I often say to people, if you're trying to sum up spiritualism, you know, in one word, then say that we believe in peace. Because it's only a 5-letter word. It's a lovely, simple word. But those 5 letters in peace, to me, sum up my spiritualism. It's my personal responsibility. It's my personal progression. E is saying it's the equality of every human life on this earth planet. It's of nature, it's of the animals. So we believe in that equality. The A in peace is the angelic communication from, you know, our angels, our guides, our loved ones. But we know that the angels are around us and they are talking with us and they will help us when we call upon them. So to me, that is that wonderful A. And then the beautiful C tells me of the communication of the spirit world, that we are, you know, able to communicate with the spirit world and how important that is. And then finally, the E at the end of the word peace is actually that we are eternal beings, that our earth time is just but a training ground, a school that we come and use a physical overcoat, the body, and we'll be returning to that eternal body, that etheric body. And that sums up to me my spiritualism in just 5 letters of the word peace. So when you offer peace to people in this peaceful season, then just think of how you can describe, without using, you know, many holy books to be able to, you know, dissect it, that you can sum up spiritualism with a 5-lettered word, you know, and to me that's important. And I say I will read some of these quotes in a moment.
I think we also need to get some questions in from you. And I love what Tessa said, because I remember going down Walworth Road Market, East Street, and the stuff that was on sale there, you couldn't even get in some of the shops because I think they had made their way into the market first.
And you get the hot drink.
And the hot sarsaparilla and cockles and jelly deals. I didn't have jelly deals, but I used to have cockles. But the atmosphere in that market was out of this world. And Brixton. See the stallholders setting up the market at 4 o'clock in the morning, and all the nuts people used to buy and everything, and you'd be doubly busy, and it was wonderful. And thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying the conversation.
The rest of them, you have 95% of you are not, but Amy's saying that she loves it.
And it's
thank you, Millie.
Part of being spiritual is being who you are and being honest, but being respectful. I had a wonderful private reading this afternoon with a lovely medium called Rose, and didn't really go to church for the reading, but we got the reading. Our Rachel got a reading as well, and some of the things came back from the memories and different things that we got up to and what we did as kids. And my dad's own father, my granddad Len, passed the spirit a week or so before Christmas, so my dad never enjoyed Christmas Day. He missed his dad. So the day my dad passed, he missed his dad. And relived that whole week of the passing and the funeral to a point it was very depressing. And I'd wake up and think, oh, it's the 12th of December. Oh, my dad's going to be in a mood. And he was. He'd phone me up and say things like, oh, Ray, I don't know how to tell you this. My dad's just died. I said, yeah, sorry, Dad. I do remember.
Well, this time 50 years ago,
I'm going to
the call.
I got the call and all that. And I miss my mum and dad in a sense. I miss their physical presence. But I get their spiritual presence in my life. And it was great to feel that spiritual presence in their lives. And I've got that presence at church. I get it in my home. I was talking about my dad today at Hatbury Church, and a picture that Jackie and I brought in from North America. And it says something like, there's only one chief in this camp, and it's me. And there's a big chief sitting bull, I think it is the picture. And it fell off the wall and hit me over the head. So I think it was my dad's way of communicating. And I know at Christmas that the people that are alone are comforted by angels and guides and loved ones. They're perhaps their husbands or their wives, and they're not alone, but they feel alone. And we must try and help those who feel alone and guide them. We don't have to necessarily knock on the door, because I can remember as a kid knocking on someone's door saying, "Here's Mister, it's Christmas, happy Christmas, there's a card," and he went, "Bugger off." You know, not a nice word to say. I actually think I've been out quite a bit. But it was in his own world, he was happy to be who he was. And Brixton, I'm proud to say I'm Brixton. And one of the things that happened in 2016, where we live now, Mitcham, they made that into South London. So I'm proud to say I'm still a South Londoner after 6 years. I do miss the market, I really do. Jackie.
Yeah, I just wanted to share a couple of these quotes.
And any questions, please.
And, you know, I'm hoping that will invoke some of you to say, yes, you agree with it, or, you know, yeah, I hadn't realised that there are so many incidents of spirit manifestation within the Bible. So I put some around the New Testament and just some before that I handpicked earlier. And what I liked about this one, it's sort of saying, before time in Israel, when a man went to inquire of God, that he spoke. He said, "Let us go to see the seer, for he that is now called a prophet was before time called a seer." And Samuel answered Saul and said, "I am the seer. Go up before me into a high place, for ye shall eat with me today and tomorrow. I will let thee go, and will tell thee all that is in thine heart." And as for a time, they were lost for 3 days. And the Spirit came to them and said that they would be found, and to trust in them, and they were found. And the New Testament, and especially for this time of year, or whether it was June, at the time of, the Christ Jesus story, in chapter 1, 20 verse in Matthew, an angel appeared to Joseph. And in the same Matthew again, angel warns Joseph to flee into Egypt. And that Jesus sees the Spirit of God descending like a dove, and that Moses and Elijah appeared to Jesus, Peter, James and John, that Jesus appeared to Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, and that Simon led by Spirit, and that the disciples were then told they would speak in diverse tongues. Peter and John would fill with the Holy Spirit, that Peter physically proved Aeneas guilty of cheating, and that an angel opened the prison door for them. So it was very physical, that Spirit bids Philip to go forth after rich man's chariot, Jesus speaking with Paul, Paul falling into a trance, angels releasing Peter from the prison, and angels warning Paul of the shipwreck. So therefore, there are just so many incidences of spirit manifestation that it would take more than a whole show to go from them. But I just wanted to share a few around the Christmas story.
If any of you get a chance of reading a book by an American seer, I don't think, probably we would call him a medium, but he was called a seer, Edgar Casey. He's wrote a book, or compiled a book, A Story of Jesus. And he explains Jesus's incarnations, how he became Jesus, what lives he had beforehand, and how everything was prepared, and how also the world and the church changed everything. If you read Arthur Finley's Rock of Truth, I think it is, so much was changed by the church just to keep people, my phrase, and I don't wish to offend anyone, imprisoned with dogma and creed.
With the power.
With the power. And one of the phrases I do like from the New Testament is from the Gospel of St. John. And White Eagle do a wonderful teaching on this in the Living Word of St. John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. What that God really means, and Ashley has said this, it's the word was God in the sense it was energy, it was life,
Spirit.
It was light, it was spirit. And that word is with us all. And we must thank you. Thank you, Conrad. Thank you very much indeed. Jackie and I worked out we've got about 80 years, 90 years between us of spiritualism. I've got about 51, 52 years. And Jackie's got
45.
about 45. So we've got a lot, but don't mean I know everything. If I don't, I find a man that I can, or a person that I can, because I'm happy always to take questions. If I can't answer them myself, or you're not happy with the answer, to find another answer. Because the purpose of our incarnation is to live a life, and to live this life, we need to be able to share with each other and not be envious or jealous or uncreative with those words. We've got to be able to share it and agree to disagree. I've said this at our Spirit Seeker weekend. There are people that don't agree with COVID and injections. I respect their decisions. But what I don't like is when people start telling people. I've had at least 2 people tell Jackie and I, because we've had the vaccines, we're going to be dead within 2 years. Well, I've got another 18 months, I think, before I do. And all I did say to them, well, if I do die, I'll come back and tell you. And I'm all right and that you were right. The truly inspiring thing is that if you go into the silence of the spirit, the manifestation of that power will bring knowledge, will bring comfort, and bring great things.
I should just want to answer a couple of the people that have just been talking. Mary, about seeing colourful lights flashing all the time, would be spirit, and the amount of orbs. There are some books that you can get on orbs. I know Diane Cooper's got quite a good book on orbs, but many of our spirit photographs show these energy lights. But I also wanted to go back to the lady just before, Myra, if I'm saying her name right, as well, and just to answer, because I've sorry, Mary, I've gone. That's one. Because you're spiritual, Christian friends say I'm with Satan. It would be good to be able to quote the amount of spirit manifestations that are there within the Bible, because, you know, just in the Jesus story, there are, you know, that I've rattled them off probably too quickly, but it's almost, you know, an angel on every page, you know, within those pages of the Bible that are saying. So if they believe in the Christian story, then they should definitely believe about the angels, because it's just full of that spirit manifestation. And that trust that Mary had in carrying baby Jesus and being told, you know, to trust, and to trust when they had to flee to Egypt, that, you know, we can do so much spiritual work with the Satan, then I'm happy to be a friend of Satan. But it's just a shame, because true Christians should not be behaving in that way.
True Christians should see where Christ is in their lives, because Jesus never would have attacked people. The famous story of Jesus talking to, I believe she's a former prostitute at the well, you know, all of you, he is without sin, cast the first stone. And we have to look at that, try not to judge others. I've recently been accused of doing one thing or another, and because I'm a Freemason, that I'm in league with the Satan and the devil, I laugh at that. I'm happy to do that. Last time I visited my dad's grave and I said, Dad, can you hear me? And a white feather dropped at my feet. I said, okay, that's wonderful.
A lovely story.
That is a wonderful story. God moves and the spirit move in mysterious ways, and it's understanding what they are. And throughout the year, we can be lonely, but I also know, Tess, you've got us and other people around you where you can just call upon, and we have to be strong. And the end of lockdown was tough for Jackie and I. Though we married for 40 odd years, you know, sticking with the same person for almost a whole year without going out was tough. Nothing to do with us rowing and bits and pieces. It was just tough. I've got friends of mine who said they had been former drug addicts, feel like going back and going and trying to get some.
Sorry, to make them high.
Make them high.
Yes.
I think they call it Charlie,
Yeah.
but I only know Charlie. I know is the perfume that an old girlfriend of mine used to have. But the thing is, we have to try and take one day at a time. I told somebody today I've been feeling a bit blue lately. I have. I can't deny that. I had to ask his mummy and daddy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bradley.
He'll lock us back in our room next week.
Yeah, it's put us back to bed next week. And he actually said, you know, I'm frightened that you'll get too good at this and Richard won't want me. I said, no. I said, we just do as a substitute. So don't worry about that, son. But the thing is, we all can have blue moments. Winston Churchill called it the black dog, a black cloud over him. And we can have it. It's hoping then when the light comes in, bring in the light, it makes things better. Jackie and I are sad people, seasonal affectional disorder. We do not like this time of the year. And we had a struggle coming over to Rachel's tonight for one reason or another. We don't like, hello, James, it's lovely to see you. Good, but you're on, James. You're doing a grand job. And Jackie's received your email, James. So that's to do with something he's been trying to send for nearly a week now. And I don't like the darkness. And part of that reading I done, when the darkness cannot comprehend the light. And that is so true. And we need to bring light into our lives. Jackie's developed, amongst a number of health conditions, she's now developed an allergicness to cold, truly cold. And it means she's got to wrap up warmer, not perhaps go out first thing in the morning, etc., etc. So she's made her mind up. She might go and move to the Mediterranean in the last 4 months of the year.
I need it on prescription.
But she needs to wait to see if she can get it on prescription. But in all honesty, we all going through different things at different times. Some of it's major, some of it not so major. And we have to call on the power of the Spirit, guides, loved ones, whatever, and ask them to bring the light to us. When I did my minister's training, which is 1980 bits and Paul, yeah, I was ordained in 85, March 85. I had a problem with the word sin. And I remember saying to the tutor, who's a great mentor to me, you know, I don't like that word sin. He was without sin. And he said, Ray, you're all looking at it the wrong way. The whole class, because the whole class put their hand up and said, yeah, we're all the same. He said, sin is when you separate yourself from God, goodness, and do something bad. And how brilliant once you understand that. And then he then told me a story how during a peace super in Birmingham, where Harold was from, he was led home by Satan. And we all sat there and were horrified. How come Satan led you home? And it turned out Satan was a guard dog that he knew. So he always used to say, I was led home by Satan one night.
I just had actually the same mentor, beautiful man, Harold Cox, also used to say that we can sum up, you know, our spirituality with a bar of fruit and nut chocolate, and that we want spiritual fruits and not religious nuts.
Yeah, he gave that me on a number of occasions, so I never quite understood what he was after, but it's true. And we've got to find the fruit of the Spirit, the love of the Spirit. But we can't be too dogmatic. I used to work for the Greater World Christian Spiritualist Association. I was their manager for a number of years. And my first day there in office completely, I had a phone call from the receptionist, said, there's somebody here come to see you, Ray. So I went, okay. And she says she's an old friend of yours and you'll know another friend of hers. So I trolled down the stairs and went down there. I didn't recognise the person. She said, Ray, it's me. So I said, I am sorry, can't reach it. I'm Mary, the Mother of God. I've come to see you. I went, oh, okay, fine. Lovely to see you. Maybe it was Mary. I don't believe it was Mary, but maybe it was. Maybe the person thought it was Mary. I have a specific love of the devotion of Mary, but I'm not a Marian type of person. I still have a statue that I was given to me when I was 6 years old. It's what you do with what you believe, how you practice what you believe. I believe in so many things, and so many things in spiritualism. I'm not liking the new phraseology of today, but it doesn't mean I'm right and they're wrong or they're right. It's fitting it all in together. Tell this story. Jackie and I were sitting in a philosophy circle not long after being married, really, were we?
A discussion group. Yeah.
Discussion group mainly. And at that time, I felt I believed in the Immaculate Conception. And we carried on that debate and argument for a few hours when we went home.
Married a few months,
and
it got to the point where Ray said when he got home, if he'd have known I didn't believe in the Immaculate Conception, he'd never married me. And you were going to sleep on the couch.
I was. And I sort of got out of bed and suddenly thought, God, Raymond, pull yourself together. This is getting ridiculous.
It didn't help, though, that our mentor for the philosophy group didn't believe in the Immaculate Conception either, but he actually said that I was more of an old soul, an evolved soul than Ray was.
Oh, that didn't help. And I'm sitting there thinking, I've been in spiritualism far longer than she has. How can she be an older soul? And I realised, me saying it, that's why Jackie's an older soul.
But that's the beauty of our religion, because you could have a dozen spiritualists in a room and they will all see things differently. So we have to go with that free will and that our own personal reflections, and we have to realise that actually there is a beautiful golden ribbon which runs through all religions of the world, that there is no form of religion in the spirit world. So it doesn't matter what religion you are, it's about your spirituality. And we're all on different pathways. So if you're suddenly not on the same pathway as someone else, then no, that's their pathway to work. And your pathway is for you there to work. So we don't sort of say, oh, well, I've got a better understanding than you, because none of us ever get that full understanding until we pass to spirit. Ray and I just know that when we're there, we know what's going to happen. We don't have any fears about, finishing up in spirit world. We might have one or two fears about how we actually get there, what type of thing will take us over. But we want you as well, as we come to the end of the show, if there's any burning question that you've been wanting to ask that you don't want to wait until next year to ask, or it's a question about, I don't know, the Immaculate Conception or the Jesus story, or the fact that the Christians stole a pagan ceremony to use this time of the year, for the bringing back of the light, which is a wonderful philosophy. So please, do say if you've enjoyed it. And while you're thinking about it, I just want to tell you, because I've just seen Julie's name, and Julie told a wonderful story Wednesday of this small child, I think in Mexico, if I've got it right, that brought this weed into church, which they'd found this little plant, and it was a poinsettia. And it hadn't got red leaves at that point. It just looked like a silly little bit of a weed. And over the few weeks that it was in the church, it suddenly became this beautiful plant with this beautiful red leaf. And that's how the poinsettias actually had their connection to the Christmas period of time. And Julie was telling us just how really important it was. Well, Santa is real.
He's very real, Kimbo. I've met
Santa
him on 2 or 3 occasions. Once in the pub, but that's another story.
And bringing that Santa, giving that hope to children. They're writing their little letters to somebody that's hopefully going to bring them something. It may not always be that it's possible. And, and thank you, Maya, for saying that. You've enjoyed it very much. And, I'm pleased that people have found it inspiring. And on a philosophy front, as you can obviously hear, Ashley normally keeps us quiet because we can talk forever. But as I say, we've got almost 100 years between us, of various different things. And it doesn't matter if two of us didn't always have the same total belief in how we saw things, and that's important, because having your own personal thoughts is important.
Well, the thing is, though Jackie and I are united in the aspect of spiritualism and being spiritualist ministers, we approach our ministry differently. And it doesn't mean either of us are right or wrong. We just see it differently. I'm not saying Jackie doesn't, but I take the ministry, and I've always taken the ministry, as a calling, separate to being a medium or a healer or a speaker. Mm-hmm. I see it as something deep within me. And congratulations doing the Alpha course. Well done. It's if you're happy with doing that, that's great. I did one with a similar one with the Christadelphians, and they told me to stop doing it. I'm too much of a spiritualist. Hey ho. We have to look how we all become ministers or pastors or whatever word, missionary I quite like, in our own little communities, our own little worlds. And I just don't mean within church, within the shop. Julie, I know, works in shops. I've worked in shop. I've done so much spiritual work in the shop, talking to customers. I remember conducting a funeral service once, and I came out and I went over to where my nan and granddad's rotaries was, and I'm standing there walking towards it, and I suddenly hear psst, psst. And I thought, well, you're getting a bit of phenomena here. And there was someone crouching behind the rose trees, and they were an atheist and didn't want to go into a relative's funeral. And were they hypocritical? And I actually encouraged them to go in there and see the funeral for a celebration of life. And I don't ever know how they come on. I can't remember that. But we've always tried to lead people to where we think it's like counselling, to where they should be without actually getting them to do it themselves. I've been getting headaches across my third eye. Well, does this mean it's opening up properly?
It might mean you need a couple of paracetamols. It's the fact is.
Seriously, Sam, I'm sorry if we sound flippant.
There shouldn't be a headache when you're opening up spiritually. Then perhaps you need to drink more water.
Be dehydrated with your psychic
yourself work. More. So that's a sign about, perhaps meditating more before building the energies up, having exercises to build the energies up, and drinking plenty of fluids. Because Ray and I both, run circles over the years. And if anyone ever had a pain when they were beginning to open up for their mediumship, then we would all stop and we would all give healing. So if you're opening up and you're in a circle, then you'll just ask your circle leader that you need some healing to take that away. It's different if you're communicating with someone that might have had a stroke and they're giving you that evidence by giving you a pain, across their head, because that happens and you feel that person, overshadow you. But it should not be there, for a prolonged period of time.
We're not laughing at you, Sam, honestly. No. We really are. But you have to find a super normal answer practical before you blame the supernatural, as it were. And when I was developing a form of mediumship called control mediumship, which is a step before trance, I used to get stomach upsets afterwards, didn't I? Mm-hmm. And I remember saying in my circle, he said, why haven't you told me this before? I said, well, I didn't think it was spiritual. And when she spoke to my guide sometime later, he said, well, we'll adjust it. And I never had that ever again. So it's finding something that is sensible by communicating, chatting, talking. And if you're setting in meditation at home on your own, say to your guide, I'm getting this pain in my eye or middle of my forehead. Please advise me, tell me. Because me opening up, for me, is totally different to how Jackie would open up. When I was a first-time spiritualist, you did not mention the word chakras. It was not allowed. It was frowned on. I've even known people shout across the room, we're not Easterns, we're spiritualists. We don't need the chakras. And someone said to me the other day, is that why you don't work often as a medium, because you don't use your chakras? It's not that. I was just trained to do it in a different way. My way was I've got two ways. One is being in like a tulip, opening up all the leaves and receiving the energy and the power, and then working as a medium or as a healer. And the other one was an old-fashioned radio, switching it on and switching it off, tuning it in between time. Spirit communicate in many ways through your mind, and you've got to trust and test those spirits when they come in like that. You can hear things, you can see things. Things will happen, like the man with the white feather. It's individual to you, Mary. And sometimes it's just feeling a presence. I get this feeling when my nan's around, my maternal nan, and I feel like she's hugging me. Because one of the things we often used to do. And I just feel that, oh, man, nice. Mediums at church, especially when they're giving me readings from the platform, and if they suddenly go, Raymond, I think, oh, here's me mother, because I've done something wrong, or me nan. So it's in different ways, and you have to learn to find those ways, don't you, Jack?
You do indeed. Yeah, Teresa,
well, Ivan does.
Yes, he does. Yes, somebody who always has reflux with him, and sometimes it's a practical thing, but if it's something that's happening all the time, and it's not something that is controllable, then perhaps it needs looking into. But other than that, if it's just something it may be the individuals that come and work with you from spirit had problems when they were in the
I know you drink water tests for readers, but perhaps try warm water. Try a fizzy water. Try something different to see if it works or if it doesn't work. Pomegranate juice is good for wind. I've just been told from the etheric. So, try that. You've got to find, as I said, you've got to find a normal answer to these things. When someone phones me up, which they have done a lot during lockdown, I'm seeing spirits, I'm seeing this and that. I told one person, I won't talk to you till you've been to your doctor. And long story short, she phoned me back a few weeks later and said, "You're right, Mr. Robinson. I went to my doctor. I'm suffering from schizophrenia." So but it doesn't mean she's not hearing spirit, but you've got to test those spirits. It says in St. John, I think it is, somewhere in St. John's Gospel again, test the spirits. I feel it in my chest when my guide is trying to tell me something. Yeah, that's our way of communicating with you, Hilary. And your guides will do that. It's strange how they learn to work with you and how they communicate with you in diverse ways. Yes, Amy, it is a hard lesson to learn. I was being told that only recently myself, but it's learning how to be friends with someone without telling them your innermost feelings or secrets. And if a partner has hurt you, it's a small lesson, not an easy lesson, but sometimes it means I won't do that next time in that way. But every person is different. Jackie and I, within reason, can discuss almost anything and everything. And I've brought my kids to do the same. I've brought our kids up to do the same. And it's learning these lessons and in testing there were. Yes, we are, Kimbo. We are all disciples in our own way. And we have to acknowledge that we're on the same path, hopefully, but in different directions. And it's living that journey with yourself. 50 odd years in spiritualism, I learn every day. I learn something new all the time. And it's important to do that. And it's important to recognize the symbolism and the symbology of what we're doing in our life and how we come across things.
It's about growing. It's about developing and evolving the whole time. And sometimes it's evolving what we thought we understood and, going to actually almost the complete reverse. I find it difficult to forgive. And sometimes if people have upset me deeply, then I find it difficult. But I'm actually understanding about forgiveness far more and about turning the other cheek and making sure that we never feel negative to people that have hurt us.
Lots of love, Tess.
Because that's important.
We're always here for you.
We are the disciples. And as I said earlier about the word peace, use that so that we can actually, no matter how small your contribution, the part that you play as being, just one bolt in the machinery that turns the wheel, that turns the other wheels, that's synchronicity.
That's true.
That we have to. If life isn't challenging, then we're not learning enough. Because that's why we've come down for this Earth experience. No point. And thank you, Bradley, for saying that he's a credit to.
Oh, it's Bradley.
This is Bradley James. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So we were alias. Right. Yeah, I taught him everything he knows.
All the bad stuff, it's my fault.
Yeah.
Do you? Okay. So we must have met. Yeah, we must have met. I used to be chairman of the rugby club. Every 6 weeks at the moment, I'm having to have an injection in my eye because I've got macular degeneration, and I don't enjoy it. I get very tense and very nervous beforehand. And the one I had to have roughly 6 weeks ago, I had to wait over an hour to be seen and really, really got anxious. And one of the people said to me, "Mr. Robinson, I see you're a person of faith. If you're a person of faith, why have you worried about this?" I said, "Because you're sticking a needle in my eye and it hurts." And he went, "Oh, that's honest." And in a way, it doesn't hurt like I was trying to explain to someone today. It's more of a pressure feel that I felt. And I don't see the needle coming in or the injection coming in. But it is unpleasant. My eye's numbed. And had a couple of nice technicians, haven't we? Doctors, nurses doing it. And they're very And I had to say to this lady the other week, I said, could you just put your hand on my knee? She said, why? Are you that nervous? I said, no, I just like the comfort of your hand on my knee. Ripped it away very quickly. And as Jackie said, one of these days, your dad coming through, he's going to get you into trouble.
If I can just add, our 6-year-old grandson, Ashley's son, his oldest, Ethan, when he saw Ray have one of the treatments, Ray's eye was completely red, bloodshot red. And he said, oh, Granddad, don't have another one. He said, I'll give up school if you go blind and I'll walk you everywhere. And that was just so sweet and innocent of him to say that, because he felt Ray was being
I still
hurt.
say he just wanted to give up school.
Yeah.
So. But nothing is easy, and it's worth living it still.
Live that life, get out there.
Some of my friends in my Freemasonry life said to me over the years, your dad passed, your mum passed, your dad passed with all this and that, and mum passed with that. And doesn't that affect you? Yes, it was my mum and my dad. And when the day that Jackie's mum passed the spirit, a few hours before she passed, I had her on FaceTime with you, didn't I? And her other daughter in Australia.
Because I was in Lourdes at the time with a lovely friend of ours, Lorraine, that was getting ready to pass the spirit and had wanted to go to Lourdes. So it was difficult being in another country and knowing that mum was poorly. And to say only a few hours before she passed, she was up sitting in bed and being
both
great,
you and Wendy,
chatting.
weren't she?
And then, but quite often that is the case. That would be a topic for one show one time, when you know that you suddenly see people that have been really poorly suddenly make it. So, they're rallying round and they're wonderful and they're talking. And it's like a little goodbye message from them. And then suddenly, very quickly, they return to spirit.
Yeah, hello Tina, lovely to see you. Hope you enjoy the train journey.
Yeah, and I hope you
have a couple of wee drams on the way.
Sights. Yeah, you need to keep yourself warm. It's going to be cold up there, I hear.
Jackie and I had friends from our early days in Spiritualism, Anne and Michael Cox, and Michael passed some years before Anne. And Anne's latter life, Anne had cancer literally from head to toe. It had spread quite badly, and she'd lost weight, and she was in hospital. And Jackie and I went to see her one day. And we're sitting there and we're nicely trying to pray to her. And she'd always said this to me. When it's my time, Ray, she said, tell me to bugger off back to spirit, go home. And I'm sitting there and we're silently sort of saying to Anne, well, we love you, you can go now. She had no family to worry about, deep, close family. And then this nurse came in. She said, are you Anne's minister? So we said, yes. She said, well, I'm a Christian and I'm trying to save her soul before she goes there. I went, oh, that's nice for you, love. Good luck. And she went, no, you don't understand. Her soul needs to be saved. I said, I promise you, Anne is well and truly saved. No, she's not if she's a spiritualist, because you only can be saved by the blood of the Lamb. I went, oh, hope you enjoy the rest of your life. Yeah. And, you got to remember, St. Paul picked the idea of killing and Jesus being a lamb because of the god Mauritius, that when he was in Rome, the Roman soldiers would slaughter a bull and wash themselves literally from head to toe in the blood of the bull as an added protection. And all I would say, that St. Paul looked at that and he said, right, don't use a bull, we'll use a lamb. And the fact they made Jesus into God, Jesus never said he was God. If you think of the prayer that Jesus taught, our Father who art in heaven, he never said me in heaven. I don't wish to offend anyone. It literally is our Father who art in heaven. When he was on the cross getting ready to pass to the Spirit, he said, Father, forgive them. And Jesus's incarnation at that time was virginal in the sense it was that life was pure, it was honest. Doesn't mean a Jewish rabbi and another Jewish lady once told me back in the olden days of Judaism, when people were betrothed, they would have physically come together and to seal that coming together, that betrothal before they got married. So we have to look at ways. Now, I don't wish to offend any Christian or Christian spiritualists out there. I really don't. But it's part of the learning curve of learning how to live our lives. I believe that Jesus lived on this earth. I believe that Jesus came to this earth. He healed, he blessed, and he comforted. He initiated the Last Supper, which was a traditional supper for the Passover. I forgot the word. I was going to say Holocaust, but no. And he was not a Christian. Jesus was born a Jew. He passed to the Spirit as a Jew. It's the people that followed him, his so-called disciples and apostles. Jesus asked to love the Lord thy God with thy heart, thy mind, and thy soul, and to love thy neighbour thyself. On these two laws hangeth the laws of the prophet. And that's all Jesus wanted us to do. The rest is written 70, 80, maybe even 100 years later. And if you read the Aramaic Bible or New Testament, Old Testament, totally different to what's in King James Version, New American Version, the international version of the Bible. What matters truly is what you believe in your heart and your soul. Not what I believe, what Jackie believes, what you believe. And if you find those truths to be self-evident in your life, practice them. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
And we'd just like to say, because we know we're coming to the end of the show, do we have some adverts that we nicely need to put on for you now, Richard? Oh, I never heard of him.
Never heard of Ashley Robinson.
One of these new...
Must be one of these new whippersnappers.
Yeah.
So Ashley Robinson, and we've got our Divine Service on Sunday. Ashley's on tomorrow night at 8 o'clock on Spiritual Psychics TV,
so
live,
watching him
with mediumship. Not like tonight, us chatting and you sharing, but live with mediumship. And he'll be us on Sunday at Wimbledon Spiritualist Church, both live on Facebook and YouTube. And our medium is Jeff Hewitt.
A lovely Jeff.
So that is great. And it's been great sharing this show with you tonight. I hope we haven't bored you.
Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll soon know if you've all turned off. But if you have enjoyed it, then say that you've enjoyed it. And say there's a few different snippets, that are worthy of a show probably of their own, with, the connection in the Bible, the spirit manifestations, and, and whether or not we've given you food for thought at Christmas. But as I say, it's not how much you're spending in your pocket or how much debt you're going to encounter because of feeling pressurized, but think of that Christmas spirit and that feeling and the lovely upliftment we get when we actually see all the lights.
Thank you, Sheena.
It's so dark out at the moment. Seeing the lights that people are putting their Christmas trees up early and the lights in their window just cheers us all up. It just brings us that little bit
thank you, Matt.
brighter. And it's nice to have so many positive thoughts with you all. So, we hope that we'll probably see you again next year. I'm sure there'll be a time when Ashley or Richard might like us to, carry on when Ashley's not around, and we've certainly enjoyed it. And if there's any last, questions that you haven't managed to,
thank you, Amy,
to get through, but it's been very nice sharing and some of our philosophy.
Can I just say, Amy, what you need to do, if you think tomorrow the world is square, you live with that, but be prepared to open that it could be round or triangle or oblong. Just be prepared to open your mind.
We'll see other aspects as well. And that's the important thing. We don't all have to pray the same, to meditate the same, to believe in the same philosophy.
Thank you, Mary.
It's all about our learning. So, and thank you, Alison, as well. Glad that, and nice to see how many people remember Brixton as well, some of the Londoners with us. And thank you from Christiane.
Christiane, yeah.
And, our new people that came from America. Have a good Christmas.
Hello, Chris. It's lovely seeing you as well. Hope you're well, darling. Look after you. Christine is a minister in Spain. She used to be a healer, a wonderful healer at, first of all, Ashford Christian Spiritualist Church and then Wimbledon Spiritualist Church. She trained healers at both Wimbledon and Hatbridge, and she's doing her own work out in Spain, and she's doing a grand job, and she's a great friend to spiritualism, and she's a lovely human being to book.
So think positive. Give out that positive love, energy, healing, and just know that every part you do, don't think of it as being tiny. It makes a difference to this world.
Thank you,
Bringing love to that world makes a difference.
Yes, he did.
That's right, Julie.
He did. He did say that. And it's important that...
Okay.
Did Jesus say that we can do the same gifts as him and more? Yes, Julie, he did say that. And it's important that the Christian church remembers that. And I think sometimes the Christian church has thrown out Jesus and just kept Christ, in the sense the anointed one, the appointed one. And Jesus simply was a good Jew who practiced what he preached and forgave those who hurt him. And he did tell us to go out unto the world, proclaiming and healing by the power of the Spirit, and note to the world that he had sent them. And again, he didn't say he was God sending them, he was just saying himself. And there's some stories which I've read recently that Jesus originally was a disciple of John the Baptist, and that Jesus was carrying on the work of John the Baptist. Yes. Some of these things we never know. Yeah. The Roman Catholic Church often talks at funeral masses that, you know, the hidden mysteries of the church are not revealed to us to the day of our death. And though we don't agree in death in spiritualism, because death means finished finality, no more, we don't know a lot more until we get to spirit. And as long as we stay true to what we understand to be right, somebody's recently accused myself and Jackie, and to a degree the Wimbledon Church, for using a Ouija boards. We have used an Ouija board. Wimbledon Spiritualist Church founder Richard Arthur Bush, fellow of the Chemical Society, used a Ouija board and wrote 3 books with the Ouija board and built the church with the Ouija board. And he would be entranced with the Ouija board, and the planchette would move without him just moving it, other than him holding the board. And it's a good tool in the right hands. It's like any other tool of the Spirit. It's good in the right hands. And if people don't use it right, hi Tracy, thank you. You look after yourself and enjoy your trip in Scotland. If we use every tool correctly, nothing will harm us. Somebody once phoned me and said they had done the Ouija board and an evil spirit came through and she grabbed her cross that she had on the side and it did protect her. I said, are you a practicing Christian? Oh no, I'd never go to church. Don't really believe in God. I said, why did you grab a cross? Why would it protect you if you don't believe in it? If you have belief in nature and the spirits, that would have protected you more. And you had nothing to protect, because I said, can I tell you something? Am I right to say you'd all been drinking beforehand? Oh yeah, we'd had 5 or 6 bottles of wine. It's not a good time to do an Ouija board or get in a car and drive or go out on a shooting range. It's just a tool of the Spirit, and it's how it's used. In my opinion, it's somewhat older today, but you can get still some wonderful evidence. Jackie and a group of people at Wimbledon, and I know Julie who's been on, Julie Caswell, they've had some wonderful evidence on that. But it's just a tool like tarot cards, angel cards, any other cards. They're tools, and how mediumship can work through those tools. There's nothing wrong with it in the right hands. Any more questions before we go, or shall we leave? Okay, so we will bid you all good night. Yes, Julie, we get the most beautiful messages of love from Spirit through the book. Yes, you do. And we have seen it ourselves, Jackie and I, over the years.
The power manifests through
manifestation,
through table tapping, through planchettes, through automatic writing.
I think, Richard,
wax art.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you do the Ouija board at Spirit Seeker this year?
I did.
And film it in the seance downstairs, or part of the seance thing. Yeah. 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 So it's as I say, it's a tool. How a motor car is a beautiful vehicle, but when it's in the wrong hands, it's a terrible tool. Hammer's a wonderful tool, but if you're trying to knock a nail in and you miss it and you hit your thumb, it's a very painful experience. So it's learning the tools and test the spirits, challenge the spirits. They want you to do that. They really do. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Jackie and myself, we wish you a good evening. It's
been a pleasure.
If we don't speak to you in between time, a very blessed Christmas season, and enjoy your life. Live long. That's my Star Trek coming through now. And prosper. Be good. Jackie?
And enjoy, because the 21st of December, we will start to have more light coming back to the earth. And that's something I will look forward to, is the light coming back rather than the dark. Because if we can think of light, we have to have dark to see the light. but I'm so looking forward to the light returning. So our wonderful blessings really to you for next year, that we all stay healthy, that nobody gets seriously ill, and that we all have that freedom next year that we're hoping for. So take care.
Stay strong, stay focused, my friends. Blessed be to all, seen and unseen. Good night.
Spiritual Psychics TV. Online. Spiritual Psychics TV isn't just an online broadcasting service. We also offer many features via our website. SPTV offers a unique directory that uses geolocation to find your nearest reader or venue, just by using your postcode. The Academy section allows anyone to upload and create their own spiritual courses within minutes. For those who like to read, then our online magazine area will offer just that. The SPTV shop enables anyone to start their online shop, be it to sell used or new items. You can also find our schedule and information about our shows.
Spiritual Psychics TV, bringing spiritual people together.